Hey guys, in this video we'll be having a look at the Rapala Ultralight Shad in 40mm. I'll share my opinion and experience with it, and we'll see how it performs underwater. Let's have a look. So the Rapala Shad wrap has a very long history. The original models were carved out of balsa wood and were approximately 70mm long. They were later offered in a 50mm size as well, and come in a variety of shapes and sizes, from a giant 120mm model offered for saltwater fishing, smaller versions that were offered in shallow and deep running, more modern versions offered in plastic finishes like the glass wrap, and a variety of different colors. So what makes this one special and or unique is the fact that when we measure the body of the lure, it comes in at approximately 40mm, which is particularly small for a shad wrap. Purely out of interest sake, the lip does not feature in that 40mm. That's an extended extra 15mm added to the lip body. So it's just the main lure body that measures in at 40mm. So the ultralight shad is supposed to weigh in at 1/8 of an ounce, which in theory is supposed to be 3.5 grams. But it comes in just shy of that at 3.01 grams. Now that is with all the hardware installed as it is from factory. And you will notice that it does come with reasonably decent VMC hooks, though I'm not a major fan of the hardware that comes with it. The split rings are a little oversized for a lure this size, and you do on occasion have the two hooks snag each other during casting or during general operation. So I'm not a huge fan of the hooks that do come with this, but we'll talk about that later. The running depth for this lure is supposed to be 4 to 5 feet. Now, in my experience, it runs a little bit deeper than that. In my experience, it runs about 1.8 meters to about 2.2, 2.4 meters, depending on your line as well. Now, that running depth over 2 meters is based purely on ultralight line or line under PE 0.6. Now, the UL Shad Wrap does come in a variety of very interesting colors, though I am a big fan of more naturally colored lures, specifically when it comes to smaller hard baits. So this one is the gold. It's black on the back with gold on the side, and then an orange, UV orange belly. I very much like this specific one. And then another one I've found that works very well for me is this guy, which is the carbon model. And you'll see this one does have quite a few teeth marks on it. It's got orange on the belly. The rest of the body is just like a shiny dark blue black, and black on the back. Now, these are the two colors I tend to prefer and throw a lot, but they are my favorites, though I think depending on what species you're targeting, you might choose something different, though I very much like these. Now, the defining characteristic of the Shad Wrap is the larger belly. It's not quite the minnow shape, it's a little bit fat in the middle, but it's still an elongated profile, and of course the very large lip that would cause it to run deeper than your average minnow or crankbait would. Now, the two things that I do feel very much work in favor for the ultralight Shad Wrap is the fact that it's very, very tiny and runs quite deep. Now, it is a sinking lure, but that's one thing that very much counts in its favor, is it's a very, very tiny profile and still runs very deep, which I think is kind of a unique thing for a lure of this size. And that's why I like it. All right, so let's have a look at the lure underwater. Now, as you probably know from my other lure reviews, I'm a big fan of slow-rolling lures, and this little Rapala does that quite well. It's not a very pronounced, not a very shouty action, but it's got a subtle wiggle to it. Now, as you up that retrieve speed, the wiggle becomes more prominent, and it does have a rattle to it, so you will start to hear the lure underwater at distance. Now, this is a shot from the lure from below as we do a medium retrieve. Now, you will see it does have quite a prominent tail wiggle to it. Now, what I like to do is I like to remove that rear hook. The weight of the rear tail hook tends to mute the action more than I'd like it, and it tends to foul up a little bit more often if I'm fishing grass. So I like to take that rear tail hook off, and as you can see, it makes that action a little bit more pronounced and gives you a little bit more rattle as we pull the lure through the water. I'm a big fan of that. Now, looking at the sink of the lure, it has absolutely zero action as you let it sit there. It just slowly glides to the bottom. Now, this will also allow you to work it as a twitch bait, as you have a very slow fall, so you can twitch and pause this lure or do a slow retrieve. So what do I think of the ultralight shad? I think it's a unique offering in the sense that the very large lip allows it to run deeper than other cranks of its size and reliably run at that depth, so it doesn't just sink to that depth and then come back up. It runs at that depth consistently. It's offered in a lot of very interesting shiny finishes, so it will draw attention. Even though the flash or the wiggle is a little bit more subtle, it will draw attention. It does have a rattle. I forgot to mention that earlier. I'll overlay some sound of the rattles here. So those are all pros that make it unique and interesting. But what I don't love about this lure is the fact that the hardware isn't great. As you can see here, I kind of bent out that split ring already, just putting it on and taking it off once or twice. That means the split rings are a little bit cheap, and they are definitely oversized, as you can see, for a lure of this size. So I'd likely replace the hardware on this in the near future. Maybe with singles, I'm not sure, but I'll definitely use a smaller split ring, and I might keep the size of hook because I like the fact that I have more tail wiggle because I took off that rear hook. So one treble hook this size with a smaller split ring, and I'd be very, very happy with the performance of this lure. Would I buy it again? Absolutely. I own more than one of these, and I think they do fill a gap in my lure lineup. So would I recommend them? I definitely think so. That's my opinion on the Ultralight Shad Rap. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.